But of course want to introduce our host this evening, Clean Energy Champion, State Representative Lamont Robinson.
Woo!
Well, good evening.
Good evening.
It is certainly great to be here. I would like to welcome you all to the greatest district in the state of Illinois, the 5th District. And it is also great to be in a beautiful school. I felt the energy coming in. Anybody feel the energy coming in? And so I want to say thank you to this wonderful institution for allowing us this opportunity this evening to talk about something that really is impacting our community, particularly on the south side of Chicago. Before I move any further, I just want to give you a little bit of background on myself and the 5th District. The 5th District starts at 79th and Jeffrey. So that's the south end of the district, right at South Shore High School. South Shore High School, and it goes all the way to Gerda, Old Town, and Lakeshore Drive. So it's an expansive district, one of the most diverse districts in the state. So I was teasing a little earlier saying that it is the best district in the state, but it really is because of the diversity within the district. I have been honored to represent this district for a little over a year. And I replaced Juliana Stratton, and so you don't have to tell me that I have some huge shoes to fill. But it's been an exciting year in the state legislature. Tomorrow, I just want to put a selfish plug out that I will be doing a town hall meeting with two of my colleagues, Senator Matty Hunter and Representative Sonia Harper, who serves to the west of me in her district. We will be doing a town hall to talk about really this historic year that we had in the General Assembly. If you don't mind, I just want to go over a couple of those items. We passed cannabis legislation. Thank you. Some happy campers out there. Thank you so very, very much. But with that legislation, also we will be expunging thousands of African American and Latino men and women that have gotten in the crosshairs of the criminal justice system. And so thank you. But we also wanted to make sure that there's parity within ownership within the cannabis industry. And so you will be seeing more town hall discussions about how you can get involved in the cannabis sector. That is extremely important. So please keep your eyes and ears open and make sure that you sign my sign-up sheet that's in the back of the room, so that way that we can keep you informed. Also, we passed the budget, which is extremely important. The state cannot move. The state actually goes in reverse without a budget, and so we can thank our governor, J.B. Pritzker, for passing a budget. We also passed gaming and sports betting. Many of you, like me, might not be thrilled about gaming or sports betting, and I understand that, Ms. Davis, but we have to make sure that we fund the state, and we make sure that we fund schools like this. Also fund our city services, our state services. And so it's important that we cannot continue to tax the citizens or tax our way out of the deficits that we have. And so all of the funding levers were on the table, whether we like them or not. And there are some that, as I mentioned to you, whether that be gaming or sports betting, that I wasn't that happy with. But again, we have to make sure that we bring revenue into the state. And so I just wanted to give you a couple things just to say that the state is moving in a positive direction. We're not out of the woods yet, friends, but we're moving in a positive direction. And so I'm very, very happy to represent not only the 5th District, but the state of Illinois. Whether you are in my district or not, my plan of attack is still to represent you and to make sure that we're doing the right thing right things by you down in the General Assembly. I'm also, again, very, very happy to host this event because I believe personally that the green energy is a silver bullet to move our communities forward, particularly on the south end of the 5th District. Why is that? When I walked this district, literally a block away, the biggest piece of the puzzle that came up was economic development and jobs. Not crime, but economic development and jobs. And so there are 3 sectors that I am looking to fill. There are people that unfortunately have gotten in the crosshairs of the criminal justice system, as I mentioned earlier. There are folks that want to own their own businesses. And there are folks that are looking for jobs. And so my role as a state legislator is to figure out how do I fill those 3 categories. Again, folks that have been caught up in the criminal justice system, folks that want to own their own business, and then folks that just simply want a sustainable job to take care of their family. So those are areas that I am hard at work trying to make sure that we fill. And this panel today will be able to talk about opportunities within that sector. And I'm very, very happy to have an esteemed panelist, many of them that I have been knowing for several years, even before this crazy descent into politics. And so I just want to give you who they are very quickly, and they will also go into their background. But first, we have Naomi Davis. We have Naomi, please do a little wave, a little Vanna wave. Blacks and Green, we have Sarah with CUB. We have Caroline with the Sierra Club. And Pastor O, if you do not have a church home with Faith in Place, he will definitely would love to have you at his church this Sunday. Is that correct, Pastor?
Correct.
Right. I also, again, want to thank the Gary Como Youth Center for their generosity in allowing us to have this beautiful room. And so I want to thank them. I am certainly a supporter of this great institution and continue to make sure that that I continue to support them for years to come. I would be remiss if I didn't thank my staff. I also have a paid job, and that paid job, I'm a small business owner on the south side of Chicago at 51st Indiana. I'm in the insurance business, and I'm very fortunate to have a staff that's in my insurance business that runs that practice, because 80% of my time is spent on something that I really enjoy doing, and that's being a legislator. And I can say that with much appreciation that the folks in the 5th District allowed me to represent them. But on the state side, in my district office, I have some really great people that not only put this event together, but have ushered me through my first year as a General Assembly. And I'm very, very thankful to have Jason Mansour, my Chief of Staff, in the back of the room. We can give Jason a round of applause. Pat Ewart, Constituent Services, in the back of the room. Pat. And I've even gotten smarter in this year. I have an intern from University of Chicago. Loki, if you can please wave. Yeah. So I really appreciate all of your help. I want to also thank Colleen, who I have been, particularly as a freshman legislator, leaning on her down in Springfield. She has been someone that has not only been a friend, but a confidant. We passed about 4,000 bills in the legislature, and some of them are not good bills, and some of them are bills that I can have a family conversation tonight, right? Some of these bills are very confusing, And so you have to have people that you go to say, hey, can you take a look at this bill? And how is this bill affecting my district? And so Colleen has been great to allow me to text her at all times at night, email her with bills, coming to my office, and then also trying to make sure that we push to make sure that we bring clean energy jobs to my district. So thank you so very, very much for all of your support over the year. And not only that, with the Sierra Club and Faith in Place and Blacks and Greens and UIC, all of these organizations that are here throughout the year, 365 days a year, are making sure that they are keeping their eye out to make sure that our state is a state, that we can feel comfortable drinking the water. Drinking the water. Just allowing our kids to go outside and be safe. They are our safety net. And so we should support these organizations. We should know who they are. Some of them are nonprofits. And so if you bought your checkbook or your credit card, please support them, because we really do need them, folks. We really do. And so I also want to say to the Citizens Utility Board as well, I wanted to add to that list. And before I close, I just want to thank some constituents that are in the room and some friends that have come across the district. And so I share with people, yes, I have a very diverse district, but my plan of attack is to make sure that I represent the entire district. And so I have coffees and town halls across the district. I'll be at Ogden High School, which is in the center of my district, so to speak, tomorrow, as I mentioned a little earlier, with Senator Hunter and Representative Harper. And so it's really good to see a diverse group and folks from across my district. It really means a lot to me, because again, I want to make sure that I represent all of the district from Old Town to South Shore. So thank you so very much for being here this evening. I know that you will get a wealth of knowledge. Please take out your notebooks and your pens and buckle in for a great event. So thank you so very, very much.
Amen.
All right, thank you, Representative Robinson. And again, Colleen Smith, I'm with the Illinois Environmental Council. I want to be really brief because these folks are going to say a lot more interesting things than I will. But for a little bit of context, our organization is an association of over 80 environmental groups from throughout the state. We do have groups like Faith in Place, Sierra Club, Cub as members, and we're focused on in Springfield on passing environmental policy and defending against policy that not only hurts our air and our water, but can be damaging to a variety of issues. We worked with Representative Robinson on a social justice bill this session, as well as want to commending him for being our House sponsor of our bill to get the lead out of our drinking water, an issue that is paramount to these groups and I think all of our communities in Chicago, and an issue that we remain really committed to.
Can I mention something?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm not going to use the microphone. Colleen mentioned something that's very important. We put out a bill to have municipalities put a plan together on how they were going to remove lead pipes. Not mandating them to remove lead pipes, but a plan, how many years?
However long they think it'll
However many years, but we just wanted them to put together a plan that said, this is what we're going to do as a municipality. So any city across the state, just not Chicago, to put a plan together to talk about replacing lead. And that bill did not move.
that bill was killed. And so one of the things that, and I got back up because I didn't put my ask out. I made the mistake, Pastor O. I ask out like church. My ask is that we need you to come to Springfield. And we need you, whether you're in the 5th District or not, to let your representatives know that you think that there should be a plan to replace our lead pipes. And so I can't do all this alone. We have to have people that come down to Springfield and rally for things that are affecting our communities. And I believe personally that one of the reasons that we're having the violence that we're having in Chicago is because of lead. It is because of mental peace. It is because of lack of investment. But lead is one of those pieces. There are many things that causes the violence that's going on, but lead is one of those because there has been research in youth that it affects the brain. And again, all we were doing within this bill was asking municipalities to put together a plan. And I sat at a table with labor unions, with city and state officials, and I wish I could have recorded the conversation. You would have thought that I was bankrupting some of these cities and towns by just asking to put together a plan. And so Colleen and I, we are going to put this bill back out there again. But when we do that, we're going to have I'm putting Colleen on the spot, we're going to have a news conference about this, and I am asking and begging and pleading that you come out Springfield.
We're coming.
Thank you. So, I'm not going to stop the show anymore, but I just had to put that selfish plug out there. Thank you.
And yeah, truly, I mean, I say this not because he's helping us tonight host this event, but Representative Robinson is a champion on these issues. And when I do go to talk to him about a bill in Springfield, he is asking me, how does this affect my constituents? How is this going to impact my district? And with the lead issue, you know, we have a new mayor who isn't as much of an impediment as our previous administration was. So hold all of your elected officials accountable on this issue. It's incredibly important.
And lots of jobs.
Yes, that is also true. Replacing lead service lines is going to be costly, going to be a lot of jobs. So tonight you're going to hear from Sierra Club and Faith in Place on the Clean Energy Jobs Act. You're going to hear from Citizens Utility Board on ways that you as a resident can save money on your energy bills. And you're going to hear about the amazing work that Blacks and Green does and how clean energy means economic development and jobs, as Representative Robinson talked about. So, Caroline.
Hi, everyone. I feel very loud. Is this an okay volume?
Yes.
Okay. Hey, my name is Caroline. I'm an organizer with the Illinois Sierra Club, and I'm going to be talking about the Clean Energy Jobs Act. This is a bill that we're trying to get passed in Springfield. Yeah, I see some folks who I know lobbied on it this spring. And we're trying to get it passed, hoping to get it passed this fall, and I'm going to tell you some more about it. So just taking a step back, sharing some stuff that I think we all already know, but who here knows someone whose house has gotten flooded recently? Who here knows someone who has asthma? Who here knows someone who's unemployed or underemployed? Yeah, so we need to do work to build a better world, and now's the time to act. So from, you know, the impacts of climate change to the impacts of air pollution to the impacts of underinvestment, the time to act is now. The next slide. But the good news is that in terms of on the climate side, the climate movement is stronger than ever. We're not going to address the challenge that climate change presents without a huge social movement and without a lot of organizing. And if you go back, sorry. You know, so we have images from on the bottom, across the globe, in DC, and then up top, images from here in Illinois. So the good news is people are mobilizing around taking action on climate more than they ever have. And also people are seeing the intersections that a lot of the same forces that cause economic injustice and racial injustice are also the same forces that are causing climate change, but also that the solutions that we build can be focused on addressing all of those issues at once. So even though there's a lot of bad stuff, there's also a lot of reason to be hopeful. Next slide. So here in Illinois, we are working on passing a bill called the Clean Energy Jobs Act. One thing to let you know is 2 years ago, we passed a bill called the Future Energy Jobs Act, which some of you might have heard. That did a lot to jumpstart clean energy growth in Illinois and create some job training programs and consumer programs that are focused on serving underserved communities. So that was a really exciting bill. And a lot of the resources that you are hearing about at different tables are because of that bill. But we also, about a year ago realized like we can't stop here. We want to be doing stuff like 5 times the size. So that is why we're pushing the Clean Energy Jobs Act. One thing that was cool about shaping it is we actually went out and talked to communities to hear, what do you want in a 100% clean energy future? And so we had conversations all around the state last summer to ask people, what they want Illinois' clean energy future to look like, because we know there's a lot of different paths this could take. And the next slide. And we took all of that information and all the feedback we heard on the ground and used it to help shape the writing of this bill. So it was a very bottom-up process, which was pretty cool. And in February, we introduced the bill. Here's a bunch of pictures. We had press conferences all around the state. A lot of them were led by volunteer leaders on the ground who were part of that process of having dialogues to help figure out what was in the bill. So it was a fun, full circle event. Next slide. And now I'm going to talk about the different pieces of the bill. So one big piece is promoting equitable access to jobs and economic opportunities. I know Pastor O is going to talk a little more about that, so I won't go too in depth on it, but it focuses on creating clean job workforce hubs, also creating preferences for clean energy companies that take equity actions. So this might be hiring individuals from environmental justice communities or minority communities or economically disadvantaged communities. And then finally, it creates a contractor incubator hub so that we're not just training workers, we're also giving people the opportunity to have ownership in the clean energy economy. It also seeks to reduce pollution from the transportation sector. We want to create a lot more infrastructure for electric vehicles so that we don't have to be burning gasoline. We also work to create an electric vehicles for all program, which is focused on making ride shares available in different communities and also focuses on addressing the last mile of the commute. A lot of times, the train station might be 1.5 miles from your office, and just being able to get that one little bit more can help make public transit more accessible to you. And we're like, what if that last little bit is electric? And then finally, does some stuff to make sure we're not overloading the electric grid while we work to electrify the transportation sector, because we know that's going to be a lot more demand on the grid, and so we want to make sure that it all works out. So that's the electric vehicles part. We want to get to 100% clean renewable energy. We know this is what we need to do, so let's just do it. We want to get to 45% clean renewable energy by 2030 and 100% by 2050. This would generate a lot of investment in Illinois, so that means a lot of jobs, a lot more tax dollars for our schools and our libraries and all the public services that we love. And then it would also do things to expand existing programs. So there's the Illinois Solar for All program, which is a program that helps make solar panels more accessible. There's actually, I think, folks you can talk to about if you're like, hey, I want a solar panel. There's some cool ways to get them. So we'd make that program even bigger. And then we would expand energy efficiency and make sure that large industrial customers also have to be doing energy efficiency. I think most folks are familiar with energy efficiency. Sarah's going to talk more about it, but that's just simple measures you can do so that you are using less electricity. So using different light bulbs, having power strips that use less energy. So you don't have to change your behavior. Your house or business is just going to be more efficient. we want to decarbonize the electric grid by 2030. So we want to get fossil fuels off the power sector as quickly as possible. We know they're making us sick. We know they're causing climate chaos. And so we want to fix our policy so that we can get clean energy online. So we would have an action agency help create a plan to do this. And then we also realize that right now the way that power generators get revenue is skewed. There's a thing called capacity markets, which are very complicated, but right now coal and gas gets a disproportionate amount of money from those markets. And so we want to change the capacity market so that clean renewable energy has more of a priority. And we're and then one other part of that I just wanted to mention is creating clean energy empowerment zones. So we know any economic transition is going to be rocky, and that there are communities who are dependent on fossil fuels for tax revenues, for jobs, and so we want to make sure to be proactively planning and proactively identifying resources for communities that are going to be impacted by this transition. And then some cool things that are happening locally. One, sorry the formatting's weird, looked different on my computer. So here in Chicago actually made a commitment this year to achieve 100% clean renewable energy. If you want to hear more about that, I know there are a lot of folks in this room who are involved in it. Kyra back at the back was very involved, so if you want to get involved. So this is really exciting because it helps set a precedent. Chicago's doing it, the state needs to do it. And we also want to start electrifying buses. So all pretty cool stuff, and we're going to start writing, or we are, meaning the city and advocates, not me, are going to start making a transition plan that is community-centered and driven by needs of people in Chicago. So top-line messages. If you're walking away and you're like, what should I know about the Clean Energy Jobs Act? It's good for consumers. We're going to save money. It's good for jobs in the economy. It would spur a ton of investment. And finally, it's good for public health and the environment. Right now, we're relying on fossil fuels that are making us sick, destabilizing our climate. We don't need to be. We can be using clean energy. And then next slide. So what can you do? You can sign a petition. We have some petitions at the back. If you haven't already signed it, do that after. You can also take a photo petition, which is kind of fun. You can hold a sign, we take a picture, we tweet it out, and it's just like helps increase visibility and show all the supporters across Illinois. So that's also back at the Sierra Club table. We are going to have a Clean Energy Lobby Day on October 29th. So I know Representative Robinson talked about the importance of going to Springfield. This really does make a huge difference. So if you're like, yes, I can take the day, I can get on a bus, head down to Springfield, talk to my legislator, attend a rally, and go home, we would love to have you. I recognize a few of the folks who were in my lobbying group for Lobby Day in the audience, so thank you all for being here and doing that. So that's a great thing to do. And then finally, if you're like, I want to get involved right away, you know, the Sierra Club, we are driven by volunteers. We're having a volunteer meeting Monday, August 12th at 6 at our offices, which are at 70 East Lake Street, but come find me if you're interested. And I can tell you more about how to just get involved in this summer in grassroots activities to help pass this bill. Yeah, so that's all, and that's my email if you have any questions.
Where do you get this mail?
I'll write it down.
I can also play.
Can you hear me? Interesting.
I don't think you really need a mic.
He'll be loud.
Sounds good to me.
Oh, there you go.
Now it's working.
Yeah.
Right. Down to work. Excellent. My job is easy because I'm really here to talk about the Clean Energy Jobs Act, but I really want to focus on jobs and economic justice. I was at a luncheon today with some of our representatives, and one of the senators brought up the fact that when we talk about this whole climate change and climate attention, we have an issue in our communities that's unlike other communities, and we need economic justice. We need job justice. And so my goal tonight is just really to focus in on CJ's equity. This word equity means that we're building, it's an even playing field, or trying to even the playing field when it comes to jobs throughout this bill. Clearly, the Clean Energy Jobs Act puts Illinois on the equitable path to 100% renewable energy, decarbonization of power sector, reduction in pollution from transportation, with a focus on equity and jobs while doing so. When you think about the 4 pillars of this bill, there's equity in all 4 pillars, especially when it's addressing those who have been disenfranchised, those who have been included, but those who've been most affected by pollution. Because in our communities, that's where pollutants hang around. So how do we do that? We want to build on what already has happened. Builds 4 to 5 times the amount of renewable energy in FEJA, starting right away. So you heard Caroline talk about the FEJA bill, which was passed in 2016. That bill is actually active right now. We have a couple cohorts that have already happened in the city of Chicago with our partners, Blacks and Green being one of the partners there, and 2 of those that graduated through the cohort are actually working with Blacks and Green. Whoa, 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 wonderful, amen. And so we want to get, but we know that there's more jobs, more projects that needs to happen in our community, so we need this bill passed so that that can happen. Brings in more than $30 billion in private investment to Illinois by 2030. We have a goal, we have a vision, we want to get there. Expands equitable access in clean energy careers. We've been locked out. We need to be invited back in. And so this bill addresses that and makes sure that the communities that have been most affected are now included in the process. How do we do that? 5 things I want to talk about real quick, and I'm going to be out of your way. And believe me, I'm a Baptist preacher, so I know that if I lose your attention, listen, too many yards, y'all going to be out of here. So let's get me out. This builds equity. Again, I always ask somebody, how many know somebody that's underemployed or needs a job? Everyone's hand goes, okay. Companies looking to receive renewable energy or energy efficiency incentives will be preferenced if they achieve multiple equity actions. Watch this, including hiring a minority workforce, being a disadvantaged business enterprise, meeting equitable subcontracting requirements, hiring workforce, training, grading some of these requirements, and they just move right on up. Okay? So that bill allows them to do that. Creates the clean jobs workforce hubs. Funds a network of frontline organizations that provide direct and sustained support for members of economically disadvantaged communities, environmental justice communities, communities of color, and with former fossil fuel workers from community education to workforce training and career placement. The bill has thought those displaced workers that are leaving fossil fuels, how do they make an equitable transition out of fossil fuels into renewable energy? We have to think that through. We can't leave them high and dry. What happens when communities, jobs are becoming available, but they don't have enough trained workforce to fill those positions? We have to train people to get them ready for the jobs. And so this bill allows us to do that. Continuing, creates a contractor incubator program. I can't wait until I see a community solar project on my block or near my block. I can't wait for it to happen. This bill will allow that to happen. And then finally, creates clean energy empowerment zones. It directs the DCEO to support communities and workers who are economically impacted by the decline of fossil fuel generation. Again, speaking equity, how do we move people from where they are to the next level as we move towards 100% renewables? And then finally, if you need to contact, that's my information there. I'm Pastor Scott Onquay. I'm the Policy Director for Faith in Place. My email is scott@faithinplace.org. Feel free to reach out to me with any questions. I'll be glad to answer those questions. But this is a great team of individuals that are doing great work around this great bill. And the charge has already been there. Come on October 29th, and believe me, you will have a great time, but you will also make an impact and you'll help your representative because he is a co-sponsor of this great bill, and he wants to see it passed. Thank you for your attention.
He's not joking, he's gonna
I'm really serious.
go.